too, by the way.
That is the perfect segue to our
Duvernay,
next topic because I feel like the other team that is looking to knock Kansas City off that AFC throne is the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills ranked 26 in rush offense. They have to run the ball if they're going to take that next step. If you're looking at the Buffalo Bills, who's the running back to own in that league? Because they can't play a playoff game and have Josh Allen be their leading rusher.
None of them. Absolutely none of them. I don't want any of them. If I go zero RB, I'm not drafting Zach Moss. I refuse to. I mean, number one, it's going to be an RBBC. Don't let them fool you, okay? I know I'm speaking in absolutes here, but I'm about 95% sure that we're going to see multiple running backs in that backfield. And the second thing about it is, we got to get out of this, okay, we want this player to be great. Zach Moss is just not that great. He's good. Yeah. He's serviceable.
Young. He's still young.
Doesn't matter if he's young. You have juice, you have 4.3, 4.4 speed, or you don't. You have power or you don't.
He's not
you
a
have
4.4 guy.
I'm saying you have it or you don't. He's in the category of you don't.
Okay.
yeah. You have vision or you don't. You can you can get skinny. I mean, these things aren't things that you just you can improve on certain things, but he is what he is. And this is a passing offense. And yes, they couldn't run. But I still think they really have not done what they needed to do to improve that run. I think what they did in terms of bringing in Breida, someone like that, is try and figure out, okay, how can we complement our pass with the run? I still don't think that they've gotten to the point where they're trying to really create balance because they understand how their offense works.
Yeah.
And they brought in Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
So this is not a team. And then the biggest knocker though is Josh Allen and his double-digit touchdowns year in after year.
Yeah.
Running the ball at the goal line.
So let me touch on a few things. Kind of similar to what I was saying about Dak some episodes ago. Now that Josh Allen has this big contract, to me there is a slight concern that they might not run him. Maybe not. Let me say as much, but maybe in more dangerous scenarios. Maybe they find themselves at the goal line and saying, "Let's actually try to just run it with our running back," especially if they feel confident in him. I'm just assuming there. I don't know, but I do feel like when teams put big investments on their quarterbacks, they become a little bit more cautious as far as how they utilize them. But besides that, when you're looking at the running backs, the three running backs, most people probably say two, but I am going to say three.
Four maybe.
Yeah. Do you know the fourth?
What's
Antonio Williams? Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
Yep.
So everybody mostly thinks about Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. Breida's there, you mentioned him, and then we just mentioned Antonio Williams. When looking at Moss and Singletary, when I was just considering them, because I was there as well at one point, I was leaning towards Singletary because Moss was hurt. Right. Moss literally just came back into practice, so he was missing valuable reps. Wasn't even sure when he was going to come back. So again, it's best ability is availability. They're saying Singletary bulked up. He got bigger. I guess to some extent carry a bigger workload. They said he worked on other things. I was just hearing things as far as him trying to improve his abilities, body, his whatever you could call it. He tried to improve. So I was, and then Singletary was the later pick out of the two.
Right.
So it was just really who's the cheaper option. But then I started to one day, and I actually tweeted about it from our account. One day, literally, I just came across Breida being on the Bills. It's just the fact he was there, and then I just started thinking about. I was like, what? I was like, why did they even sign him? And I just started thinking more about. I was like, he might be a thing, because here's the thing with the Bills. Last year, and this is the big reason why nobody wants to draft their running backs. No running back really just took that job and said, I'm the guy. Right. It was almost like whoever they had back there just run the plays. People don't even care about you. It's really the Josh Allen's the main running back, and it's a passing offense or whatever. So nobody took the reins of that job. So it's almost like they're in the same position this year. They just signed Breida. Breida has a different skill set than these other guys. He's very fast. He can catch.
Track.
So he brings a different element to the team. And they did have TJ Yeldon last year, but I don't think they used him much.
And TJ is the jag of all jags.
Yeah, they didn't use him much.
Former jag that's the jag of all jags.
So now, and I was thinking this before Josh Allen even got his contract. So I was still kind of thinking Josh Allen was going to get those goal line touches. So I was more thinking, okay, if Josh Allen's getting the goal line touches, who is going to be his outlet running back, out of those guys? And I kept going to Breida, And then, again, as far as the cost of it, Breida was going so late, if going at all, in drafts.
Nobody
So
wants him.
I was just thinking, and you know, when I take, remember, I don't like to handcuff my running backs, but there's a certain point in drafts where every running back you take is a handcuff to some extent. So when I get real late in those drafts, I was just looking around, I was like, out of all the options, Breida looks good. You know, Breida looks good. And if I look back 2 months from now and Breida ends up being the guy, I can kind of say, I can see how that happened.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't come at a total surprise.
He's an easy cut.
Yeah, exactly. He's an easy cut. And one day we have to have an episode where we need to talk about these last few picks, how they're going to end up being guys you're going to get rid of soon because these waiver wires are going to run. Mm-hmm. And you have to realize that you're not going to keep these guys unless you don't plan on doing waivers. Yeah. You know, so you kind of have to think about when you're drafting them in that mode that most likely this guy's not a long term. It's just somebody I want to look at for now. Mm-hmm. You know, just want to take a peek. And I'm going to throw him out there back in the ocean. But anyways, real quick, sorry, we can go on. But you mentioned Antonio Williams. That's a dynasty guy. Last year, week 17 or week 16, one of those last few weeks when they were kind of prepping for the playoffs and they gave him a lot of burn, he did very well. Very, very well. Still a young guy, has a little bit of size. So for my dynasty people, if you're looking for one of those stashes, look up Antonio Williams. Yeah. And one bit of advice, whenever I mention a dynasty guy or somebody sleeper, I recommend going to go look at his highlights. Just look at the highlights. You know, just fall in love with the highlights because the highlights show you the talent, the capability. So, Antonio Williams.
And the last thing with Moss too, he did get some touches at the goal line. So I don't want to make it sound like he didn't get any work at the goal line. He just didn't convert a lot of them. Right. And that may change, but he's just not someone that I feel confident in starting week in and week out, hoping that he'll get a touchdown, hoping this is a game where he gets 2 to 3 targets, etc. So, I mean, I could definitely be wrong. He could definitely, end up with 60 to 70% of the workload potentially, but it's not someone that I have any interest in drafting.
To be honest, I think they brought Matt Breida into that backfield because they don't trust Zach Moss. One, he was injured last year when they needed him most, and I don't think that they trust him. And I think that they wanted a change of pace running back, which is Matt Breida, so that they can still put a running back on the field, catch some passes out the backfield. To be honest, I think Matt Breida late in the season is probably going to be the running back that they
So
go
we all
with.
agree Matt Breida is a pretty good value right now then?
No, I'm not going
You're not with that?
I'm not going
You think so?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Because I think they have to establish the run, but they still want to be a passing team. So
Matt Breida is not an in-between the tackles type running back.
He's not.
Change up.
Right. But he allows them to still throw the ball down the field, but also give,
draws and
even if he was just a passing back,
you have to.
If you ask me between all those guys, he probably would have the most value because he is getting those receptions. And we're talking with PPR leagues. Yeah. If we're talking standard, it's going to be Moss to me because he has the higher chance of getting those goal line touchdowns. But we end up playing a lot more PPR, which is 1 point per catch. So out of those 3 guys, to me, Breida's gonna get the most catch. And
you still gotta make the team though.
That's what I was gonna say. It's in the realm he might not do well at all. But again, the way you're taking him, if he doesn't produce, you can cut bait, throw him back out, roll again.
I said, God, give me a warning. Please take me for the morning, so I leave more disappointments than I ever will appointments. Give a fuck about your feelings, rub it in. This your ointment, can't depend on the oinker. Find your pick in the blanket, find a